A rush of heat traveled to the tips of my fingers, making them buzz as I held the keycard to my own luxury resort. Yet my brother stood squarely in front of the entrance, blocking me. From inside the vast emerald lit lobby, I could hear my father's deep laughter echoing through the space. The lobby I designed, the resort I owned, and still, I was being treated like an uninvited stranger. "You're not actually planning to walk in, right?" Lucas muttered, lowering his voice to a patronizing hush. He tugged on the collar of his borrowed designer jacket, a cheap replica I instantly recognized from the sample photos my fashion consultant friend had shown me over coffee a few days ago. He planted himself more firmly in the doorway. "This is the Emerald Crest Resort, Maya," he scoffed. "The chef's tasting experience here costs more than your entire monthly income." If only he knew I had personally developed that menu with our award-winning culinary team. "He's my dad, too," I replied, managing to keep my voice even. In my clutch rested a slim envelope containing the ownership transfer papers for a beachfront villa in Santorini, one of Emerald Crest's most coveted properties. The envelope suddenly felt like it weighed a ton. "My name is Maya Rennell. I'm 36 years old, and I'm a hospitality founder. And this is the story of how I reclaimed a place at a table I actually owned." Mom and Dad made it very clear. Lucas continued, checking his reflection in the glass doors. "They only want successful guests tonight, people who won't drag down the family image." The irony nearly made me laugh. Just yesterday, I had approved a $160 million expansion for the Emerald Crest International Group. Today, apparently, I wasn't prestigious enough to step inside my own resort. 10 years ago, when I walked away from the family's tiny tax office to study hotel management, they'd practically erased me from the family records. My father's words still echoed in my mind. "No child of mine is going to play hostess for a living." Fine. I let them believe I was struggling in the service industry. Meanwhile, I built Emerald Crest into one of the most profitable luxury resort networks across 4 continents. The glorified hostess, they mocked, now owned 28 5-star resorts and employed over 10,000 staff. Maya. My mother's sharp tone sliced through my thoughts as she appeared behind Lucas. "What are you doing here? We talked about this." No, they had talked. I had simply received a message that morning. "Don't come to your father's birthday. It's at Emerald Crest. You can't afford this event. Don't embarrass us." I lifted the envelope slightly. "I brought a gift." "Oh, what is it?" "A discount coupon to some cafe." Lucas snorted. "Or did you save up enough from your little job to buy something from a bargain store?" My mother's gaze swept over my clutch handcrafted Italian leather from a private atelier in Milan, worth more than Lucas's entire wardrobe. "I'm sure whatever you brought isn't nearly as appropriate as your brother's gift," she sniffed. "He just became senior associate at his firm, you know." I knew. Just like I knew his firm was currently negotiating to lease corporate space in one of my towers. Space they desperately needed, but could barely afford. My commercial team had sent me the file 2 days ago. "Lucas is doing wonderfully," Mom continued, glowing with pride. "A new townhouse in the suburbs, a luxury sedan, and a fiancé with excellent standing. And you," her eyes skimmed over me critically. "Well, at least you're making an effort." I thought of my glass-walled penthouse overlooking Harborview Bay, my collection of collectible supercars, and the private aircraft I had flown in on that morning. "Yes, Mom," I said softly. "At least I'm trying." Speaking of trying, Lucas added smugly, "that dress seriously. You couldn't have dressed up. This is the Emerald Crest, not some roadside diner." I brushed a hand over the smooth midnight blue fabric custom made by a Parisian couture house that had recently declined Lucas's request for a collaboration. My stylist had told me about the rejection last week. I wore what I could manage. I said calmly, "Well, you're not coming in." Lucas snapped. "We booked the entire Imperial Sky floor. It's for family and elite guests only." My floor? The Imperial Sky floor. The one I renovated personally last year. Choosing every sculpture, every chandelier, every handcrafted wall panel. "And who exactly are these elite guests?" I asked, genuinely curious. "Oh, you wouldn't recognize them." Mom dismissed with a wave. "The Winslows, they own that big consulting agency. The Marstons, Old Wealth, and Mr. Halden from the International Bank, very important people." I bit back a smile. They had no idea. Alastair Monroe had recently leased 4 of my commercial towers. The Marstons were currently pleading for priority membership at my most exclusive Santorini cliffside retreat. And Mr. Halden. His international bank had been trying for months to secure a major financing deal from my investment division. "Right," I said evenly. "Truly important people." "Exactly." Lucas chimed in, thrilled that I seemed to understand my place. "So now you see why you shouldn't be here. What would people think if Dad's disappointment of a daughter showed up to refill their champagne?" "Lucas," our mother murmured gently, though her eyes sparkled with approval. "Be polite. Maya made her choices. If she'd stayed with the family tax office like you, things would have turned out very differently." The same family firm that now occupied a small, low-budget suite in one of my buildings, barely staying afloat each month. My property manager sent me tenant reports every 30 days. Their struggle was no secret. Just then, my soon-to-be brother-in-law Ethan walked out, adjusting his tie. "What's taking so long? Everyone's waiting for." He stopped when he saw me. "Maya, wow, didn't think you'd show up, clearly," I replied. "Ethan just became vice president at his bank," my mother said proudly. "Associate vice president." I corrected automatically. I knew his exact position because his bank handled some of my minor accounts. My finance team sent me updated reports weekly. "Well, still a lot more impressive than whatever you do." Lucas snapped. "What are you now, assistant supervisor at some casual eatery?" I thought of the boardroom I'd left earlier that morning, where we discussed finalizing the acquisition of Ethan's bank. The draft papers were probably still on my desk upstairs in my private office. "Something like that," I murmured. "This is ridiculous," my mother huffed. "Maya, please go. You're causing a scene. I'll tell your father you couldn't make it." "You mean," Lucas laughed, "you couldn't afford it?" I looked past them through the towering glass doors, at the polished marble I chose, the handcrafted chandeliers I commissioned, the artwork I personally curated. Every inch of the Emerald Crest was mine. For a moment, I considered walking away. Let them live in their bubble. Let them cling to their assumptions, but then I remembered what my first mentor once told me. Success means nothing if you can't stand tall in the face of disrespect. My spine straightened. My fingers stopped tingling. A calm, solid clarity settled over me. "Actually," I said softly, "I think I'll stay." Before my mother could protest, the heavy glass doors swung open, and Owen, my head of security, stepped outside. He had been with me since I bought my very first rundown boutique hotel 7 years ago, helping transform it into the flagship of what eventually became the Emerald Crest International Group. "Is everything all right, Madame CEO?" he asked, his voice carrying across the entrance. "Your private dining suite is prepared. Chef Laurent is waiting for your approval on the new tasting menu." Silence hit like a shockwave. Lucas's jaw dropped. My mother's hand tightened on the door handle for support. "Owen," I greeted warmly, perfect timing. "My family was just explaining how I can't afford to dine here." He blinked. "Ma'am, you own the entire Emerald Crest chain." "Yes," I said lightly, "I do." I turned to my stunned family. "Shall we? I believe you've booked the Imperial Sky floor," which, I smiled, happens to be my Imperial Sky floor. This is a joke," Ethan stammered. "You're just a restaurant supervisor." "Actually," Owen replied professionally, "Ms. Rennell is the founder and CEO of Emerald Crest International. She owns all 28 luxury resorts worldwide, as well as the affiliated restaurants and real estate divisions." Lucas's imitation designer jacket seemed suddenly too tight as his clutch bag slipped from his hand and clattered to the marble steps. "That's impossible," he rasped. "Emerald Crest is worth billions." "Correct," I said cheerfully. "So your comments about me not affording dinner were rather entertaining?" I stepped past them into the grand lobby, and instantly the staff straightened. "Good evening, Ms. Rennell," the front desk manager called. "The royal suite is fully prepared for your father's birthday celebration." "Thank you, Clarice." I turned back toward my motionless family. "Are you coming?" They followed, speechless, gazing around like they'd never seen the place before. Every staff member greeted me with a level of respect earned through years of hands-on leadership. My dress," my mother finally whispered, staring at it as though seeing it for the first time. "Hand-stitched couture from Paris," I replied, "approximately euros 26,000. I rarely checked price tags anymore." We approached the private elevator, accessible only with a special key. I removed it from my clutch. "And unlike Lucas's jacket," I added casually, "mine isn't a replica. The real collection doesn't release for another 2 months. I viewed it at a private showing." The elevator opened into the Sky Lounge, where the celebration was in full swing. The room fell quiet the moment we stepped inside. "Maya," my father rose from the head of the table, shock on his face. "What are you doing here? Your mother said you couldn't afford to attend." I walked toward him. "Happy birthday," I said. "Hope you don't mind that I'm crashing the party in my own resort." "Your resort, mister?" Halden stepped forward, relief flooding his face. "Ms. Rennell, I had no idea you were related to Robert Rennell. We've been trying to get a meeting with you regarding our financial proposal." "Meyer owns Emerald Crest," Monroe added, stunned. "Robert, your daughter is the CEO who's been acquiring prime real estate all over Harborview." My father sank back into his chair, pale. "All this time we thought you were barely surviving in hospitality." I raised an eyebrow, a quote I remember from the day I left your firm. Something about being a glorified hostess. "But why didn't you tell us?" my mother demanded. "Would you have believed me?" I asked softly. "You didn't believe in me a decade ago. Why would I share my accomplishments with people who only value bank accounts, not effort?" I paused. "Though by those standards, I'm worth more than everyone here combined." Lucas slumped into a chair, colorless. "In the seaside villa in the south of Greece I tried to rent last summer," he whispered. "The one that was suddenly unavailable, mine," I replied. "My property team forwarded your request." I glanced at Ethan. "Just like the office space your firm can't afford in my tower and the resort membership you've been waitlisted for, Mom." "Maya." My father's voice trembled. We were wrong." "Yes," I said. "You were. Can you ever forgive us?" he asked. I considered it. Forgiveness wasn't the problem. Respect was. You never respected my choices. You only respect success once it's undeniable. I smiled faintly. "Well, now you can brag that your daughter owns Emerald Crest. That should help your dinner, party conversations." I turned to leave. "Oh, and Dad, that envelope Lucas blocked me from giving you earlier. It's the deed to a Santorini villa, one of my most luxurious properties. Happy birthday, from your failure of a daughter."